Why would Hamas risk one of its most daring operations ever, 80 drones and 60 gunmen, to attack a single military train? What did they hope to gain, and why was it worth the gamble? The cargo was staggering: 320 tons of fuel, 120 tons of ammo, and weapons worth millions, a rolling arsenal that could power an entire brigade. But within mere minutes of the first strike, Israel retaliated with satellites, drones, and elite forces in ways that shocked everyone. The attack created more than destruction. It set off a chase underground unlike anything seen before. Before we move on, I will like you to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Why would Hamas gamble so much on a single target? To understand that, you have to look at the train itself. This wasn't an ordinary supply run clattering along the rails. It was a 22-car convoy designed like a fortress on steel tracks. Each car sealed and reinforced, carrying not just the basics like sacks of rice and barrels of diesel, but weeks of combat rations, crates of rifles, and pallets of mortar shells. Inside the cars were also barrels of aviation fuel and stacks of spare tank treads, enough to keep an entire brigade outfitted for weeks without needing fresh supply lines. The value wasn't measured only in tonnage, but in continuity of operations. If Hamas cut this off, frontline units near Gaza would feel the effects almost instantly. The plan Hamas executed wasn't a haphazard raid. It was carefully staged, a two-pronged assault designed to overload defenders and collapse a critical lifeline fast. Fighters launched 80 modified drones, most equipped with small warheads programmed to swarm overhead and dive toward the cars holding fuel. At the same time, 30 motorcycles roared out of concealed positions, each carrying 2 men, one steering, the other clutching an RPG or a heavy cutter. Their task wasn't only to harass defenders, it was to smash locks, force open armored compartments, and seize whatever they could before reinforcements arrived. The choice to hit fuel cars first mattered. When the drones slammed into the tanks, fire erupted along the rail line, a bright surge that lit the convoy like a beacon. Heat and smoke distracted any gunner trying to spot attackers through scopes, while secondary explosions punctuated the night. That inferno wasn't just destructive, it was tactical chaos engineered to split Israeli focus and blind sensors. Soldiers inside the convoy had only seconds to choose: fight back through flames or abandon their positions to avoid being trapped inside steel ovens. On the ground, the motorcycle teams used that smokescreen. They rushed between train cars, clambering onto ladders, firing bursts into hatches, and dragging crates onto flatbeds. In moments, they had their hands on Israeli rifles, boxes of grenades, and even anti-tank missiles. Captured intact, this arsenal would be worth millions on the black market. But even more than money, it represented leverage. Hamas's gamble was that a raid like this could cripple a brigade's resupply while at the same time showcasing that Israeli strongholds were not untouchable. If all went according to their design, the raid would not only damage Israel's immediate supply lines, but also send a message to other groups observing from the sidelines that even Israel's so-called rolling fortresses could bleed. Every minute the motorcycles and drones bought was meant to send that statement louder, exposing vulnerability, showing that guerrilla tactics could still find cracks in advanced defenses. At first glance, viewers might assume Hamas had taken full control of the train. Explosions lit the countryside, fighters grabbed weapons with little resistance, and smoke all but erased visibility. The opening minutes looked like success, but that window was far more narrow than expected. Even as the motorcycles swarmed and crates were torn loose, resistance began to stiffen. Israeli forces weren't scrambling blindly. They had already activated countermeasures, deploying systems that could track, identify, and strike back despite the haze of fire. That's the part most didn't see immediately. While the rail cars burned, a broader network was moving. Satellites adjusted in orbit to capture the unfolding ambush from above. Mobile command posts accelerated their feeds. Recon drones launched within minutes, circling the area, while still more assets repositioned. The train, as it turns out, had been bait, rolling specifically to draw out an audacious strike that could be contained and then turned against its attackers. Hamas pulled off a dramatic ambush, but what followed wasn't a retreat or a scramble on Israel's part. It was one of the fastest, most integrated counterstrikes Israel has ever launched. And it didn't stop on the tracks. Within minutes, the fight shifted underground. How did Israeli forces manage to recover from chaos so quickly and chase their attackers into the tunnels beneath Gaza? How could a force under fire recover from an ambush in minutes, turn chaos into order, and then strike deep into a tunnel network? Israel's answer came almost instantly after the first explosion: lit the rail line. Within 10 minutes, an emergency council was transmitting orders. Officers pulled live drone feeds directly into command tablets, creating real-time maps that marked not only the burning train, but every path militants could use to escape. The sky above churned with the hum of reconnaissance craft, more than 50 in motion, streaming constant footage of scorched rail cars, fleeing motorcycles, and trails of men scattering toward tunnel openings. The priority was not simply repelling attackers, but blocking their exit routes. Fighters had already seized weapons and moved hostages, funneling both into the ground beneath crowded streets. That created an immediate dilemma. Strike too hard, and the strikes would kill civilians along with militants. Hold back, and captives would vanish into the tunnels and resurface weeks later as propaganda pieces. The network itself was vast. Miles of reinforced corridors with blast doors, caches of supplies, and blind corners built to trap intruders. Some reports indicated chambers deep enough to withstand conventional artillery fire, shielding command staff more than 90 feet below rooftops. For Israel, it was not only a fight against armed men, but against the terrain itself. Operation Iron Hounds was set in motion as the scale of the ambush became clear. Armored carriers rolled towards suspected tunnel mouths, while tanks secured above-ground positions to prevent rapid counterattacks. Thousands of special forces prepared for close fighting underground, each equipped with compact rifles, silent demolition tools, and breathing gear for smoke-filled chambers. The approach made clear that Israel intended not only to chase attackers into the ground, but to dismantle the system that sheltered them. By 5:11 a.m., the assault began in earnest. Grenades bounced through narrow corridors seconds before troops cleared them. Loitering munitions chased fighters deeper until they were forced into bottlenecks. Overhead, specialized drones fitted with penetrator warheads dropped bunker buster charges into shafts identified by sensors. Command centers buried almost 30 meters beneath the soil collapsed as the ground shook, sending dust and air rolling out through vents. In less than 3 hours, entire sections of the defensive network were torn open. The results were staggering. More than 12 miles of tunnels were destroyed by controlled implosions. Dozens of stolen weapons were recovered, crates still tagged with inventory numbers from the supply train. Several hostages were pulled out alive, disoriented but rescued before militants could relocate them deeper into concealed sites. An attack that began with fire on the rails ended with underground strongholds reduced to rubble. Hamas had initiated the ambush, but Israel's counteroffensive ended up erasing a central operations hub built over years. What began as a sudden strike against a convoy shifted into something greater, a technological showcase designed to send a message. Networks that appeared unbreakable could collapse in hours under combined action from satellites, drones, armored units, and squads trained for subterranean warfighting. Hamas attempted to swing the balance with a raid that combined drones, motorcycles, and tunnel tactics. But Israel turned that strike into a clear defeat. By moving faster than expected and fusing technology with boots on the ground, the ambush unraveled into a showcase of precision retaliation. The message was clear: stockpiles can be hidden and strongholds buried, but neither survives a military machine that reacts in minutes. This was never about one train. It was a signal to those watching that no ambush and no tunnel is beyond reach when Israel puts its full network into motion.